Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Gabe Plays All the Mods 9 to the Sky. Last episode we finished the reactor, which is there on the left, and this episode now what I want us to do is start up our applied Energistics storage system. And the way I think we're going to go about doing that is just kind of working on it here, but what I'm kind of hiding in the background of the screen is our new machine building that I kind of built off screen. So this is basically just the basic scaffolding of what I envision for us here. But what we've got is an entrance room kind of thing here. This room here is what I plan to be like the central room where we'll have the main, like the Applied Energistics controller. I'm thinking it'll be like hanging from the ceiling. And then up on each of these like kind of slightly raised floors, we'll have some of our automatic resource gathering, like all the auto sifters and hammers and stuff. Maybe we'll like put them in a really nice array up here on these platforms. Then over here, if you can't guess, is where I think we'll have our reactor room. So you can tell by the layout that we've got that I'm protecting for the expansion of our base here, where I foresee us having up to 9 of those reactors before, like, I feel like that would be more than enough power. So for each of these reactors, it's going to have a redstone port, a coal port, coolant, a water port, and a uraninite port, and then we'll pull power from all of them. And I think of the dry ice, there's a port on the top, so we can put the dry ice from the top. So yeah, that's kind of my plan going forward. I know it's just like a bunch of cubes, but I really want this to become like a really cool looking factory. And I think I was like planning on putting like some walls and structures, but basically we're just limited by materials right now, and I didn't want to make stuff out of just all this black gray. I want to try and make it cool, but we need to get more resources for that. So I'll kind of leave the structure for now until we get the applied energistics system going. I do have like a basement just for here, so all of our wiring and stuff and cable management will kind of be like underground and stuff, because I don't want it to be showing up there. I want up there to be like super clean, and then down here is like where we'll have all the background stuff happening. But I'll still try and keep it like organized down here, but it'll be more out of sight down in this area. Okay guys, so the first step we're going to want to take to making the applied energistics system is making these inscribers. So in order to make them, you need 2 sticky pistons, 5 iron, and 1 copper ingot. If you're not sure at this point how to get slime balls, the easiest way that I have found without like making a slime farm is by using a crusher from Mechanism to turn any sort of organic plants into biofuel, and then you use biofuel and clay in the metallurgic infuser to then make slime balls. But once we have these inscribers here, we need to get these inscriber presses, and typically in like a not to the sky world, you'd find like fallen meteors, but because there's no fallen meteors here because there's no land, what we want to do instead, the recipe that they throw in instead is these recipes where you use skystone, iron plate, and like the material you would normally use with this inscriber press. So there's the Certus quartz one, there is the diamond one, I clicked the diamond one twice, there's the gold one, and then there's the silicon one. And if you don't know, silicon you get from Certus quartz, smelting Certus quartz, and Certus quartz dust you get from sieving dust. So I'm going to go ahead and make each of the 4 inscriber presses, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, I now have each of the 4 presses. So now basically we can make everything we have the means now to make anything we need in this mod pack. So with being able to make all these circuits means that we can combine them to make these logic processor, engineering processor, calculation processor, all those things. And those are basically the building blocks of everything else in this mod. So in order to start our actual system, we need an ME controller. So in order to make that, we'll need the engineering processor, which requires the diamond one and the silicon one. And the way you combine these ones after you've used the presses is by putting them with a piece of redstone dust in the middle, and then you combine them. But the other thing this needs is fluid crystals. And so these ones are made by dropping charged Certus quartz crystal, which you can get from sifting sand, redstone dust, and nether quartz, which you can get from sifting crushed netherrack into water, and then it'll basically just instantly pop out fluix crystals. There's ways to automate this, which I'll probably show later in like probably a future episode when we get there, but for now we'll just do it by hand, and we'll make our ME controllers. With the ME controllers, the caveat is that they have to make like a kind of like they have to be in like a square rectangular shape, and they're not full though. So if I were to make this one, it would look something like this. That's kind of like the rules of how you can make them. But you can make them like exceptionally big, like 5x5, 7x7, 9x9. And basically what the size does is that the bigger the size, the more cables you can connect to it, which means the more connections you can have in your system. So I think for our system, when we make the ME controller, which we will put it down in that room over there, I think we're going to go for at least a 5x5, but maybe even a 7x7, just to like I said earlier in the episode, give us room to expand and grow into this like big room and factory I'm kind of planning. So I'm going to go ahead and make the ME controllers for that, and then I'll be back. Okay guys, I have all the materials now needed to make a 7x7 ME controller system. So in order to make that, you need 68 engineering processors, and then 68 times 4 of fluix crystals and skystone blocks. So we'll make 64 of these, and then we'll make 4 more, and that, by my math, should be enough to make the 7x7, but we'll figure it out right now. I think what I want this to be basically in the middle and kind of above. So I'll just do something like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we should be able to go this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, and then here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we'll go up 1, and we'll complete the cube structure. Oops, I'm gonna need that. Ow, so close to doing it perfectly. Yep, and just like, oops. And bam, my math was good. Sweet. Just break that, and so now we have a ME controller here, but it needs it needs power, and we're gonna need storage and some terminals. So first thing we're gonna do is I'm just gonna make basic storage. So what you need to do for storage is you need an ME drive, which requires engineering processors, iron ingots, and fluix cables, which require fluix crystals, quartz fiber, which comes from Certus quartz and glass. And then you can make an ME drive, which basically you just use to hold all like your storage drives, like you would like a hard, this would be like a case to a hard drive or SSD for a PC sort of thing. And then what we actually put in here are the storage disks, which you can see here. Oh, not mana. Yeah, like this, for example, 64K item storage cell. So this is actually going to be my goal to start off with. I always start off with about a 64K storage component. They've since like added 256K, but I think that's overkill. It's going to be a lot of effort to start out with. Once you get the system automatically making these storage components, then you can move up to that. But for now, we'll start with 64K. And I'm actually going to make 2 of these. You can see it's pretty simple requirements, just a lot of like raw materials, but nothing crazy. I'm pretty sure you basically need 27 1K storage components. So 27 of this formula, and then you just need to like take them all the way up, and that'll get you to a 64K. So I'm going to make 2 of these. One of them is going to be for storage, and then the other one we're going to use to make a 64K crafting storage. And what this will do is give us the power to auto-craft with the system, which we'll then use to teach the system how to make its own storage, and thus will make a system that can sustain itself and keep growing and making more storage drives for itself. So I am going to just make the ME drive and the 64K storage components, which will just be a bit of grinding, and then I'll be back. Alright guys, I now have 2 64K storage components. I just, like I said, did 27 of the 1Ks to make each one, and slowly built up to that using our presses. Now, what we need to do with these guys is either put them into a ME item cell housing, or put them into a crafting storage. So the first one we're going to put into an ME item cell housing. So we'll make one of these guys, and then we'll just craft it with this guy, and now we have a 64K ME item storage cell. So with this guy, we can just pop them in here into our ME drive that I built, and now that is now storage in our system. I also hooked up the ME controller here for us. Now the next thing I want to do is take this 64K ME storage component and turn it into a crafting CPU, or crafting storage. So the way we do that is we make this crafting unit, which takes 2 calculation processors, a logic processor, and 2 Fluix ME glass cables plus some iron. So make one of those, and then we can make the 64K crafting storage. So now I'll just throw this guy here, for example. That guy is now connected to the system. It's a crafter, but we like added these components to our system, but like how do we even interact with the system? So what we need to do now is make these terminals. So I'm going to make 3 terminals. The ME terminal, which just acts as a storage terminal, ME crafting terminal, which allows us to craft things, and the ME pattern encoding terminal, which will come in handy when we want to set up auto crafting later on. So I'm going to make the 3 of these. They just require the basic like building blocks, like I said. They always require a processor or some dust or something, but we've set up all of the infrastructure to make all these things now. So I'm going to make 3 of these, and I'm going to place them right here so we can interact with our system. Okay guys, I've got our 3 terminals here: ME terminal, ME pattern encoding terminal, and ME crafting terminal. So I'm going to put the ME terminal in the middle here, and I'm going to put the ME encoding terminal on the left, and the ME crafting terminal on the right. Right? You can put it in any order you want. That's just the order I'm going to do it in. So now, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. We can now access our system here. And as you can see, there's nothing in it right now. But I can start doing things like this and putting items into our system. So now we've got all these different things in here that we can use to our disposal. And we've got quite a bit of storage to hold it. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to start to fill this system with items that are essential to building more applied Energistics components until we get to the point where we can automatically remake the storage. I'm just going to put in the essential items, especially since we're only allowed 63 types of items here per storage cell. So we should be able to get away with just the 1 storage cell and 1 crafting CPU to be able to make this self-sustainable. So I'm going to pump some items in here, and I'll be right back, and we'll start working towards making this self-sustainable. Okay guys, so the first step to automating this is going to be automating these inscribers. And in order to do that, what we need to make are these pattern providers. These pattern providers are basically a communication method for the system. When you put a pattern in them, the system knows that by sending the items here, you will get the desired items that you want. So I'll put in a pattern, if I put gold, I will get this printed logic circuit. And then I'll put that pattern in the pattern provider, and I'll connect it to this, and now the system will know that I can make that with this machine over here. And then after we get the pattern provider, we're going to need an import bus, ME import bus, and this will just take what it made for us and put it back into the system through cables. So I'm going to take these 5 here, And I'm going to move them over here to this area that I've been preparing. I'll show you. And I've moved the reactor over here as well, and I'm starting to get stuff kind of set up to this base, although this isn't how I want to do it, but this is how we're going to do it until we're more automatic. I'm going to move those 5 inscribers right here where they have power, and then 2 channels, one for the pattern providing and one for inputting the items back into the system. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to make the pattern providers and import buses, and then I'll be back in a second. Okay guys, I now have all the inscribers hooked up with import buses and pattern providers. So now what we can do is we can make the ME patterns. So if we make a blank pattern like this, oh, and we're out of that glass, hold on, let me make some quartz glass here. If we make the blank patterns, we can now use this pattern encoding terminal, put the blank patterns in here, and now if we just go back to the applied Energistics page here on JEI, if I want to make a printed logic circuit, I'll go like this, and now I have one pattern for making the printed logic circuit. If I want the printed engineering circuit, oh, actually I think I may have made a mistake. Yeah, so we don't want to put this press in here every time. We just want to change the pattern to just be this. Put 1 diamond in and you get 1 engineering circuit, because the presses are already in the machines over there. So we'll make that, and then this one here that I made, I'll just delete that one for now. Do this for each of these guys here. Gold, diamond, calculation. Oh, I did it again. And then we'll do it for the silicon one as well. Is it the silicon we use? I think it is. Silicon. And now, if I just make a few more of these pattern things here. Now we can do it. These ones now is we can also put in the patterns for this. So if I put in a printed logic circuit, redstone dust, and the printed silicon, I'll get the logic processor. And I can repeat this for all 3 of the processors. Just like this. And now with these patterns, I'll go in, and so this is the engineering one. So I will put the engineering pattern in here. This is the logic one, so I will put the logic one in here. This is the calculation, so I'll put the calculation one. This one should be the silicon. Yep, so I'll put the silicon one in there, and then this one I'll put all 3 of these here. So now I should be able to go into the system. If I sort by just craftable, all of these are now craftable by the system. So if I say I want to make 10 of these, I should be able to go start, and now if I walk over here, it has now put 10 gold ingots in here, and it is making it and pulling it back into the system. So now if I wanted to, with only 1 processing CPU, we can only do 1 task at a time, but if I wanted to, I could queue to make this one, and then it would first make the printed circuit, and it would make a printed silicon, and then it would combine them with redstone and make this guy all in one like kind of task. But now, before I go any further here, I just want to move all of our cobblestone generator machines so that produce cobblestone, gravel, sand, dust, and then also the ones that process the gravel, sand, and dust with the sieves. I'm going to set them up all over here, and then set them up with import buses so that we can import all those items into the system and have some items start pumping into the system here so we can have resources. I have basically moved our entire setup for collecting resources from over there to this platform over here to the left of our controller. I've used ME dense smart cables here. The smart cable shows you how many channels you're using, and it allows you to use up to 32 channels rather than just 8 like the normal cable. This cable then pulls into here, and then it connects all these machines. So we have our inscribers here. Over here we have our flux hammers and sieves that process dust, sand and gravel. And then over here, I only have one set up right now, oh, two technically, but these are just our base resources collectors. So this gives us cobblestone, this one gives us sand, and then over here we're gonna have dust and gravel, but we don't need those two right now, for now at least. I'll show you guys the wiring underneath here, just to get a sense of how it works. The power comes from the reactor over there, and then the dense ME cable comes right here, and then connects to the 4 different color cables. You use the different colors so that they won't attach to each other. So you can see like right here, the green and yellow aren't connected, or the green and white aren't connecting. And then that way you can easily manage as well the max amount of channels each of these cables can take. So each of these small ones can take 8, and the big one can take 32. So you can have up to 4 colors per dense cable connection. So I've got almost everything hooked up except for, like I said, some of the base resource gathering stuff. I do have bandwidth with the yellow cable to do that. We just don't need it right away. So I want to move forward in automating being able to grow the system here. So one of the few things we're missing now is just the ability to auto craft like a crafting table type thing. So in order to do that, what we need is a molecular assembler. And so with a molecular assembler, we'll be able to, it's basically like the machine that auto crafts things in Applied Energistics. And then we'll place that next to a pattern provider. And then we should be able to add in a bunch of crafting recipes that will allow us to go from just base resources all the way up to 64k. So we'll add all these recipes here, the 64k, 4k, the 1k, and then we'll also add the quartz glass recipe, and we'll add the cell housing recipe, and then we'll add the combination recipe, this one down here. Additionally, I have set up, since I've set up the sand here, I've set up also a pattern provider up to a furnace. So the difference is that this one here is how we had it set up earlier, where it automatically crafts the ores that we want from these ore chunks, and then this one here is set to just put all those ores into this furnace and then smelt it, and then it gets it with an import bus, it all goes back into the system. This one here, however, instead of just having default export, it's actually crafting patterns. So we have our glass here that we make from sand, and our silicon that we make from Certus quartz dust. And then in most of the import buses, I've just put 2 acceleration cards in just so that it doesn't get held up. Acceleration cards are like pretty cheap for us to make. They just require fluix crystals and these advanced cards, which again like are pretty cheap for us at this stage of the game. So I'm going to make the molecular assembler, and then I'll be right back and we'll set up the auto crafting for the storage. Alright guys, I've got the molecular assembler made and the pattern provider hooked up for it. So now we're just going to go through, like I said, and make the array of patterns. So we'll start here. We'll make the 64k storage cell pattern. Then we'll make the 64k storage component pattern. And then we'll make the 16k pattern. We'll make the 4k pattern. The 1k pattern. And we're also going to do the quartz glass pattern. So now, if we take all these and put them into our pattern provider here, we now have the ability to craft the 64k cell. So if we hit next here, you'll see, oh, I just forgot to make the 1 item cell housing pattern here as well. Put that in there as well. So now, if I click the 64k item storage cell, I click next, I'll just see the resources I'm missing. So if I quickly just run over here and grab all those items from our storage chests, because we have like a really large amount of those items. It's not like we're really lacking them. We just have a bunch just sitting in these chests now instead. Yeah, so we have a bunch of those items actually. So now we can put these items in the system here. I'm actually gonna just turn this redstone blocks into redstone dust. just like that. Just so we have a bunch in the system. Perfect. And now if I go craft here, it has everything it needs to craft this. I actually want to see if we can make 2, maybe. Okay. Let's see if we can make 3. Missing some glowstone dust. Let's just set it to make 2. So now we just hit start, and this is now crafting our items. And if we look here, we can see the status of everything that it's doing. It's crafting the processors, which are basically the base components. And if we look over here, all those guys are pumping out right now, just making the items that we need. And eventually, after a certain period of time, it'll just finish those items. So I'll just be back when it's done. Right now, it's a little slow because we don't have full acceleration cards and everything. But once we put acceleration cards and everything, like especially these inscribers, that'll get really quick. And we should be like good to go now. We can just grow our system as we require. And we can start working on expanding the base and making some more machines. So I'll be back in a second. We now have 2 64K ME item storage cells. So we can pump those into the ME drive now. And now we've just basically tripled our storage capacity. So yeah, that is basically all I wanted to do for the episode today. I kind of wanted this episode to be a bit of a tutorial because a lot of my friends and people I see have trouble starting off an applied Energistics system. So I thought this would help people kind of understand as well. So I did it a bit like a tutorial. Now I'm just gonna, between this episode and the next, I'll probably clean up all of our items and stuff that we have lying around in chests and put them into the system. And then I think the next episode we'll work on expanding the system and growing the base and just automating a whole lot more stuff so we can start really digging into this mod now that we have all this power of the ME system. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate the views, and I'll see you next time.